Folks, welcome back to another episode of Fallen Badge. This episode will be the murder of Ben Grogan and Jerry Dove, FBI, Miami Field Office, Part 4. At this point in the gunfight, Dove had relocated from behind the passenger side door of his car around the back of the car and had taken a position near the driver's side door. Dove's gun, a Smith & Wesson Model 459 9mm automatic, had been hit by one of Platt's bullets. Whether or not this occurred before or after he moved to the opposite side of the car is unknown. Grogan had moved to occupy a position near the driver's side rear fender. Hanlon had fired his gun dry after shooting at Platt from around the passenger side rear fender bumper and was hit by one of Platt's bullets in the gun hand while reloading. Hanlon then rolled over onto his back behind the car. Within moments, he saw Platt's feet standing at the passenger side rear of the vehicle. Dr. Anderson states that it was at this time when Platt left large smears of blood as well as arterial blood spurt patterns on the rear of the vehicle. As Hanlon attempted to push himself under the left rear trunk to maximize his cover against Platt, he heard Grogan cry out, "Oh my God." Platt killed Grogan with a single shot to the chest. Platt then rounded the rear fender, saw Hanlon, and fired one shot into Hanlon's groin area. Hanlon rolled over onto his right side into a fetal position, expecting to be shot again and killed. However, Platt immediately shifted his attention to Dove, firing twice directly into Dove's head. Dove instantly collapsed, his head coming to rest just inches away from Hanlon's face. According to Dr. Anderson, Hanlon recalls that Platt fired several more rounds, apparently at Reisner and Arantia. The spent cases from Platt's Mini 14 fell onto Hanlon's body. After firing at Reisner and Arantia, Platt opened the driver's side door of Grogan and Dove's Buick. Just as he stepped in to enter the car, Morales fired the first of 5 rounds of double-aught buckshot from the Remington 870 shotgun he was carrying when he was hit in the forearm at the beginning of the gunfight by one of Platt's bullets. Dr. Anderson feels this first shot by Morales caused Platt right foot wounds and left foot wounds, 4 wounds in total. Now, at some point during the gunfight, Maddox regained consciousness and apparently crawled unseen by the FBI agents out the same window Platt had used to exit to Monte Carlo. Arantia reported that Maddox remained near the passenger side front fender of the Monte Carlo for a while without ever firing a shot. When Platt entered the driver's side of Grogan and Dove's car, Maddox joined him by entering the passenger side door. It's just amazing to me that these two guys are functioning with all the rounds they've taken. It's just amazing. And you have to remember, folks, Maddox and Platt both, no drugs, no alcohol, nothing in their system. According to Dr. Anderson, forensic evidence indicates that Maddox never fired a weapon after he received his initial injuries while occupying the driver's seat of the Monte Carlo. Now, Morales, and you have to remember, folks, Morales' left arm, he's basically one arm because his left arm, I think it's a compound fracture caused by that .223 round. I mean, he's tore up. So he's firing this shotgun with one arm. Morales fired a total of 5 rounds from his Remington 870 shotgun from a range of about 25 feet. With his first shot, it appears he struck Platt in both feet, which we discussed, when Platt was about to enter the driver's side of Grogan and Dove's car. Now, these bad guys ought to be dead, and they're getting ready to get in the car and drive off this scene. Morales fired the remaining 4 shots at the windshield and driver's window, but according to Dr. Anderson, there's no compelling forensic evidence to indicate that any of the pellets from Morales' shots hit Platt or Maddox. Dr. Anderson speculates that Platt may have ducked below the window openings, possibly in Maddox's lap, to avoid being hit by the buckshot. At about this moment in the gunfight, Metro-Dade police patrol officers arrived on the scene. This part of the action here, there's been some confusion exactly what happened. A civilian witness said that Platt got out of Grogan and Dove's car, walked the more than 20 feet to where Morales was positioned. Morales was sitting at the right rear of McNeil's car. If you see the picture, you can see the shotgun where Morales dropped it. That's where Morales is shooting from with the shotgun. Said, according to this civilian, Platt fired 3 shots from a revolver at almost point-blank range at Morales and then returned to the Grogan Dove car. Now, Morales doesn't remember any of this, which wouldn't necessarily be a shock. Now, McNeil recalls seeing what appeared to be bullets striking the pavement. And the police officers that had pulled up, they don't remember Platt being outside the car. According to that officer, he never saw Platt approach Morales. Now, according to Dr. Anderson, he's not saying that Platt didn't get out of the car and walk over there and shoot at Morales, but he's just thinking it probably didn't happen because of the buckshot rounds he had in his right foot. So, but we don't know for sure. In any means, Platt's attempting to start the car. Now, Dr. Anderson believes that the injuries to Platt's right arm probably prevented him from being able to use his right hand to turn the ignition key. This forced Platt to lean away from the driver's side window to use his left hand to turn the key on the steering column. And then Maddox was apparently attempting to help Platt start the car. Now, at this point, Morales draws his .357 Magnum revolver, and he got to his feet, which would be difficult considering that his left arm has been shredded. And he moved about 15 feet parallel with the street to get clear of McNeil's car, and then he began walking towards Platt and Maddox, who were sitting in Grogan and Dove's car. Morales fired 6 rounds of 38 plus P ammo from his revolver. And if any of you are wondering, yes, you can fire 38 rounds out of a .357. Now, Morales' revolver shots 1 and 2 were fired at Platt, shots 3, 4, and 5 at Maddox, and shot 6 at Platt. 5 of the 6 bullets hit Platt or Maddox. And remember now, Platt would be closest to Morales because he's in the driver's seat. Maddox is in the passenger seat. Morales' first shot at Platt hit the back of the front seat behind Platt's left shoulder. Dr. Anderson theorizes that the sound of the gunshot would have caused Platt to turn his head to the left to look for the source of the gunfire. Morales' second shot then hit Platt above the outer edge of the right eyebrow. The weight of the projectile that was recovered from Platt's scalp was about 19 grains, suggesting that the bullet hit the driver's side window post and fragmented. After the fragment penetrated the skin, it ricocheted off the curvatures of the right side of Platt's forehead and traveled between the skin and the exterior surface of the skull for a distance of about 2 inches before it stopped above the right temple. The fragment did not penetrate the cranium. Now, Dr. Anderson believes that Platt then laid back on the front bench seat of the Grogan and Dove car, placing his head and shoulders face up in Maddox's lap on the passenger side in an attempt to use the driver's side door as cover against Morales' gunfire. Platt's movement and positioning trapped Maddox upright on the seat with his back against the passenger side door. Morales' third shot hit Maddox's face just below the left cheekbone and adjacent to the left nostril. The projectile fragmented in two, the largest embedded in the bone beside the nose. A smaller fragment penetrated the left sinus cavity. According to Dr. Anderson, this wound was not significant and probably was inflicted as Maddox was looking at the approaching Morales. The size and weight of the two fragments suggest the bullet probably hit the driver's side window frame before it hit Maddox. Maddox then apparently tried to make himself as small of a target as possible. He tucked his chin into his chest and pressed his back against the passenger side door to slide his buttocks on the bench seat in an attempt to get as low as he could. Dr. Anderson claims this would have accounted for the wound path caused by Morales' fourth bullet. The bullet hit Maddox's face just outside the lower right edge of the right eye socket at about 7 o'clock position. The bullet traveled downward through the facial bones, through the right side of the lower jaw, into the neck, and entered the spinal column between the cervical vertebra number 7 and thoracic vertebra number 1. That's C7 and T1, where it severed the spinal cord at the base of T1. Maddox's body would have immediately relaxed, according to Dr. Anderson, causing his head to tilt backwards. His face would have risen upwards by the time Morales' fifth bullet hit him in the face. Now, this bullet hit Maddox's chin just below the right corner of the mouth, penetrated the jawbone, and into the neck, where it came to rest beside the right side of the spinal column at C7. The bullet did not damage the spinal cord. Now, by the time Morales had reached the driver's side door of Grogan and Dove's car when he fired his sixth and final shot, Morales extended his gun through the driver's side window and fired at Platt. The bullet penetrated Platt's chest just below the left collarbone, traveled through the shoulder and neck, and stopped in the fifth cervical vertebra, C5, where it bruised the spinal cord. Dr. Anderson observes that the wound path of this bullet through Platt's body could only have occurred if Platt were lying on his back on the front seat. Morales' sixth and final shot ended the gunfight. Platt and Maddox both lay on the front seat of Grogan and Dove's car. If Maddox was not already dead, he would be shortly. Arriving paramedics came to the aid of FBI agents first and then shifted their attention to Platt and Maddox. According to Dr. Anderson, paramedics found no signs of life in Grogan, Dove, or Maddox, and no first aid was attempted, whereas Platt appears to have still had a heartbeat because paramedics inserted an airway tube and began administering intravenous fluids. Platt died at the scene without regaining consciousness. That's just amazing. Simply freaking amazing. Dr. Anderson concludes his forensic analysis of the gunfight by pointing out the remarkable accuracy of the FBI agents in achieving solid hits on Platt and Maddox. despite the fact the suspects were obscured by deep shade, dust, and gun smoke. His specific examples would have been the accuracy of 5 of the 8 agents: Grogan, McNeil, Dove, Reisner, and possibly Arantia. He points out the ability of several of the people involved in the shootout, both suspects and FBI agents, to continue to perform both physically and mentally through sheer willpower after having sustained severe gunshot wound trauma. And of course, that's specifically Platt and then Morales. Benjamin Grogan, Jerry Dove. End of watch, April 11th, 1986.